ready for the news, baby. Let's have a sip of my oat milk latte. Let's have a sip of my creatine water, getting juiced up while I'm talking the news, baby. We had a lot happen, and we're going to get into it in the least pretentious way possible. Oh, are you fired up for this? Because I am. Yeah, let's do it. Woo! Take a sip. Oh, wow. That's a delicious oat milk latte. A little creatine water. Maybe I'll have a little unsweetened iced tea. Who knows? The night is young. The news is nigh. Hello, welcome to the regular guy news via the Dan Black Attack podcast. Well, you know how we kick this off every single time. Hello, welcome to RG and the regular guy news, the least pretentious guy in news, your source for all those question marks of, I'm so fucking confused by the news right now. What do I do? I'll tell you what you do. You listen to us. And let's just jump right into it. Introduce the only RGN correspondent in the field right now of her apartment, Erin Finnerty.
What up, everybody?
Welcome to the newsroom, Erin.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I'm coming to you live in my apartment in Los Angeles, California.
Wow, a mere 1 mile away from me.
Yeah.
The people need to know about it. Anyway, I'm Dan Black Attack, your RGN anchorman, and here's what I think. All right, and if you got a problem with what I think, you wanna get your words in. Tell me what you think. You can get your words on this podcast. Okay, this isn't. I know you're watching Jake Tapper, and you're like, hey, Jake, you're banging the fucking TV. Right? You're like, I got something to say, and Jake doesn't give a shit. Well, I give a shit. I'm not Jake Tapper. You could tap into this podcast by just leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and leave your comments about stuff we said in the podcast or anything you want to respond to in your review. And we will read it. We if it's 5 stars, we contractually have to read it on the podcast. Okay? Mm-hmm. That's the deal we make with you guys. So anyway, if you've been tuning into the podcast, you know that we've transformed the Dan Black Attack podcast through at least the election cycle into the regular guy news because I've been watching the news. I'm a news junkie, and I'm like, what the hell is happening? I got more questions than answers when I'm turning on these channels. And so we are diving into the questions many times, tremendous amount of times, really simple questions that I know when I'm watching the news. So we're all trying to stay alive. We're all trying to stay afloat. We want to know, should we go to Canada? Where should we go? Should we become Europeans again? For my people, what do we do? Are we staying here? Is this the greatest country in the world still? Was it ever? I don't know. Who knows? We will find out. Erin, before we get into the topic at hand for this podcast, we will be diving back into the world of the coronavirus. Mm-hmm. Erin, we have a thing on this podcast that we started last week, the mailbag, correct?
Yes, we do. We have the RGN mailbag. So you, listener, can write in to the regular guy news and send us a question that you have, maybe something that you pretend to know about at parties, or a question that pops in your head while you're watching Tap or Blitz or whoever your anchor of choice is.
Well, I call Erin Burnett Bernie.
Yeah,
which
Bernie,
is confusing. It's
Blitz,
confusing because there's Bernie
Tap,
Sanders, but I keep calling Erin Burnett, and she's she's out front.
Yeah. MTP, like whatever it is, you have a question and you don't know the answer. We probably don't know the answer, but we'll figure it out for you. You can write to us at regularguynews@gmail.com. And Dan, would you believe it if I told you that we had a piece of mail in the mail bag this week?
Wow, our first week we got something?
Yes, we did.
Wow, hit us with it.
Okay, so listener Josh T writes, should someone be looking to help Kanye West rather than placate his behavior, or is it just a work?
Wow. Oh, work
So,
using a wrestling term.
yeah, a
Let's
little
not be fooled.
crossover here.
Many of our listeners have coming over from one of the top professional wrestling podcasts, the Comedians of
The
Wrestling.
top.
Is it a work? A work meaning, is it for show, right? Or is it to
Right.
manipulate you? It's not the
Mm-hmm.
truth. Is it deceitful? Um, and so this one, right now, we could do a quick Google search on this, but for this question, I think I can answer this, which is, you said the question is, should somebody help Kanye?
Yes. With his mental well-being.
Right. The answer to that is yes. I think Kanye. I think actually, this is something I was thinking about today. We are seeing mental illness on full display at a rate that we in such prominent positions that we're not kind of used to seeing or acknowledging, and that includes the president, who has. I'm sorry to tell anyone has mental issues. I'm not exactly sure what they are. Maybe I'll dive into it. At least narcissistic personality disorder. But he's not a well guy. If you knew this guy in your normal life and he acted like this, you wouldn't hang out with that guy anymore. You know
Right.
what I
Well,
mean?
and he's
Or
also just not well, like physically as a human being.
right,
Like he can't breathe air, it sounds like
right.
sometimes. Like, anyway,
Uh,
mental health wise, also.
erratic behavior. But yeah,
Yeah.
Kanye definitely needs help. Kanye, I texted Aaron about this like a week and a half ago.
Right.
That Kanye West's behavior, the reason I don't think it's work or it's like an effort to sell stuff is, first off, he's not really selling anything. He does sell clothing.
He sells a tremendous amount, actually,
Right.
but this erratic behavior and these episodes don't benefit the sales of Yeezy, of music, anything like that.
Right. If anything, if you see a lot of his behavior specifically turns off his demographic tremendously.
Right.
And which you've seen firsthand. He gets in front of he was in South Carolina in front of, it looked like a majority black crowd, right? When he was
Probably,
giving his
yeah.
first campaign
Oh,
rally,
right.
and he was just saying that Harriet Tubman never freed slaves, right? He
Right.
just
And
what was his point? That
she never led slaves to freedom. She
put them back
put
in
them,
slavery,
I
or
don't
led them
know.
to other. I didn't even
Yeah,
follow it.
basically he was saying like that she just like I think he meant to say like she just gave them back to like more white people who like quote freed them.
Yeah.
And then he went off on a tirade about abortion and his mom and his wife and aborting their daughter and how he was almost aborted. And yeah, it was completely insane.
I think it's really tricky. It is tricky with a guy like Kanye. I think he's kind of like a classic case of like how bipolar disorder was portrayed in like every show in the early aughts, like the 6 Feet Unders and whatnot, where
Yeah.
it's like someone who, and even like Ozark has a character who's bipolar, where these characters want to, like, especially like Kanye, who's is a very a prolific, celebrated artist.
Hmm.
He's Most people would say, if you said Kanye, is he a genius? Most people would say yes, for
Yeah.
his pure talent. So when he has to take medicine that dampers, right, that'll calm him down or make him dull in any way, which is true. A lot of this medication does do that. It feels like putting like like training wheels on a mind that we all benefit from in society. So in his case, it's extremely tricky. Not to mention he's a very rich, successful guy who also has a wife who lets him operate independently, because that's part of that's people admire that about their relationship. So then he's surrounded not by his wife a lot. He's surrounded by a lot of yes men, right?
Right.
And people who work for him. Most people around Kanye are on his payroll, when you're that successful.
Right.
And
I
so it's kind of a perfect storm for a guy who's that sick.
100%. And Kim put out a statement like the week after this all kind of went down. And
Yeah, I saw that.
basically, she implied that what people are being very judgmental, but what people don't understand is that you can't force an adult man to medicate himself. You know what I mean? Like, it's his choice. And they have a property in Wyoming where he's been staying, and I think he's been recording music there, which is why I think Josh T asks if this is a work, because in the middle of one of his Twitter rants, he announced a new album. But my sense is that he was not medicating because he was making music and spiraled into a manic episode. But it also
Okay.
makes me think that sometimes, because I mean, Yeezy is like, he's like making the most money. I think he surpassed maybe Kylie Jenner this year
Yeah.
as like the most successful retail business person or something like that. And so I imagine that he does medicate during times where he needs to like focus on business and like be a dad and be
Right.
part
So
of a
he's probably goes
family.
on this ranch and he's gonna make music,
Yes.
eases off the
And Kim's
meds.
not there. Kim was in Calabasas. She wasn't in Cody, Wyoming with Kanye at the time.
Now again, because this is the regular guy news, all I could do is speak to my experience
Mm-hmm.
of it. But I do have an experience with Kanye, and a personal experience with Kanye where um, it's very brief and it's even funny to bring up. But just from my small encounter with him, I do believe that this guy has a little bit of that he would be like a sicker guy. Here's why. I'll tell you this. Have I told you this story
Yes.
before?
I haven't heard this one.
Okay. So, all right. So, in New York, I used to audition for commercials all the time when I lived in Manhattan. And there's this one place that's in a very cool building that's right off of the High Line in Manhattan in Chelsea, like around Chelsea Market, that
Mm-hmm.
area. And it's like one of those converted loft space, but it's like very high end now. You know,
Yeah.
the
Mm-hmm.
first floor is like uh, was like a fashion like room. I don't know how to describe it. That had
Yeah.
all it had in it was like one rack of dresses and a car in it, like a sports car.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like
They're doing like photo shoots down there.
right. Okay, and then the second floor was this place called House, which is a very popular place for auditioning for commercials. So it's like this thing is like really hot, like fashionistas on the first floor. Second floor, all balding improvisers.
Yeah.
And then above it, I don't know what's up there. But here's what I do know is that I met Snoop Dogg in the elevator one time, um,
Oh, shit.
and another rapper. My point is, I think there's a studio up there and a space where they shoot music videos. Okay, based on
Oh, yeah. Okay.
okay,
Uh-huh.
and like one time I was in the elevator with a guy who had a backpack on. He wasn't Kanye, but I was like, he had Kanye's exact energy, like
Mm-hmm.
Louis Vuitton backpack, right? Like, and it was like raining. His backpack was open, had a computer in it that just like it had a computer in it, but his backpack was open. The computer was soaking wet. You know, like he didn't even give a fuck
Didn't
about
even
closing the
care.
bag, and he was very
Yeah.
blinged out. And I was like, this, right? So
Right.
I was like, oh, all right, up there, there's way cooler people up there than
Yeah.
where I'm at. Okay, so one time I'm leaving an audition at this place. So I go to the elevator and I accidentally press the up button on the elevator instead of the down button, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I hit the up button, the door's open. I have forward momentum towards the door. The door opens. It's a full elevator. And when I mean full, I mean like fully packed, right? And the back's like huge guys. And in the middle is Kanye West facing out. This is black skinhead Kanye West, right? Like,
Right.
I think it's Yeezus
Yeah,
Kanye West.
Yeezus.
Like, so
Depending on it depends on the year, but
yeah,
it was probably Yeezus.
like shaved head, you know, like
Uh-huh.
with the big head.
Mm-hmm.
And I walk towards it. He's like standing in the front and then mobbed behind him. And so I walk towards him and I just like am face to face with Kanye and we're about the same height, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh shit. Like, I'm like, hey, it's Kanye. Like I literally look around
That
to
is such a
everybody.
Dan thing to say.
I go, it's Kanye, and then I go, because I was like really flustered. It's Kanye, you know what I mean? I'm like,
Right.
hey, and then everyone's like, oh, that's cool, right? You know, and then I go, hey, Kanye, right? And then he just stares at me in the eyes, locks eye contact with me, okay, like strong eye contact, and doesn't say shit to me, even though I just said hi to him, and the doors just close with us making eye contact with a mean face on. And
Wow.
that was the whole experience where it took a lot of work for him to make no expression,
Yeah.
not smile, anything. He
God.
fucking hated me from this one moment.
I mean, like, I can see. I guess, like, if you just think about like life of Pablo, like life of Kanye, like
Right.
it must just be he tries to avoid it as much as possible, and like you got through the crack and like said hi to him, and that
Right.
probably.
But like when I saw Snoop, Snoop was like, "Well,
Oh, yo,
you know,
Snoop is
no,
probably
don't get me
too.
wrong. It's fucking what I did was annoying.
Yeah.
I defend celebrities and their privacy constantly. I think you'd be annoyed also. I got like panicked and I got like flustered by
I
it.
mean, like
So
when people see us and they come up to us and they're like, "Hey, regular guy news," I
yeah,
just stare at them
yeah,
blankly and I let the elevators close.
right. So anyway, that's my point. Is that from that behavior he did, that small behavior, and then all the
Yeah.
behavior we're seeing. I think, yeah. So anyway, it's a good question. I don't think it's a work. I don't think what he's doing helps his brand. I do think that he is follows his id and is enabled by that as a celebrity, and I do think he is a mentally sick guy. You know,
Yes.
a lot of stuff he does, it's so cringeworthy, and I do believe it goes against everything he used to say on his old records. Like, it makes no fucking sense. It's not.
And
Yeah.
exactly. It makes no sense, which tells you that he's sick and that it doesn't help him in any way. And I think that in answer to Josh T's question, like, yes, someone should help him, but his family and Chris Jenner, his manager, like, there's only so much they can do because he is just like an adult man. Like,
Right.
and you can't, I don't know, sometimes you could 5150 someone in the state of California, but he's in Wyoming, and I also don't think that he's necessarily a danger to himself. He's just going through something, like
Right.
acting crazy, acting
All
unwell.
right. Well, you heard it here second, everybody.
So we're going to close up the RGN mailbag, but write into us at regularguynews@gmail.com, and maybe we'll answer your question next week.
Absolutely. And if they're deep enough, we'll dig into them, and we can even push one off and be like, oh, we'll get you back next week because that's a fucking good question.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And like, no, I don't. I don't know how to spell or what photosynthesis is. I don't know. All right. So look, this week we're diving. Let's get into it. This week we are diving back into the COVID-19 outbreak, which is fully back at phase one. Welcome back to March 15th, 2020. We have just taken a loop we are surging. This this virus is out of control, and something we've been talking about on the podcast. I was thinking about what should we talk about this week, and it's like last week, the Nick Cannon thing, scrap the other stuff. This week, I was like, you know what? I think we need to talk about some basic Corona shit, because if there's anyone I know, and I've said this before, my Facebook feed is very diverse because
Diverse.
I had a yeah I had a stand up joke that went viral. It went to like sports and wrestling fans all liked it from literally all over like the world. You know, this is a brag, and not a humble brag. I'm just saying I'm very talented, and I just accepted anyone who liked my friend request. And so my point is that actually my Facebook is ruined. Many people's Facebooks are more of an echo chamber of their beliefs
Yeah.
than I think mine is. And there's a lot of people out there who I'm friends with who are anti-masks, believe masks are against our freedom, who support who think Fauci's full of shit. I have people in my Facebook group who are extremely pro hydroxychloroquine on my Facebook page. I have people who think hoax. I got this guy. I won't say his name. This guy's like, he's an avid boater, lives in Florida. I think I've clicked on his Facebook page. It's always like, it's like one picture of Jeff Hardy. So like, I get it. He likes wrestling. That's how he came across me. We have no
Right.
friends in common, you know? And this guy
Yes.
literally is out and about every day. Hoax, no masks. He goes, look at this hoax. So look, I think that if anything we're going to do here, if I can even, I really believe this, if I can convince one person here with the stuff I look at here, or I could teach any people who are at all doubt any of this stuff one thing, then that's a win. You know that story about the starfish.
Right.
Right? It's like if I
Mhm.
could save one, I think that would be great.
If we can convince one person that COVID-19 is real and wearing a mask is worth it, then I think we've done our job.
Well, here's what I noticed. And so what I've been doing is I've engaged with a couple of people. I've Facebook messaged them to speak to them. Now, the people I've messaged are actually cool guys, cool, nice guys. They have one of them is a self-described libertarian, right? Which is a closeted Republican, I believe. I don't mean their sexual preference. Just want to clarify
No.
that. But we will get into libertarians. And then the other one is he's just kind of like, yo, I have kind of he's like, I just have a twisted view of the world. I think he means like he's very cynical, right?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
But both of them completely, we had really cordial discourse. You know what I mean? But think that think Corona is overhyped and blah blah blah. Now I want to say before I get into the topics for today and the research stuff I've pulled up, I want to speak to coronavirus for a second. Now, I at this point in time know, one person. I know three people who I suspect, three people that are either in my family or family friends who have died from the coronavirus. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one person we're not exactly sure yet. This happened this week, but it sounds like from the symptoms they had, it's very possible.
Mm-hmm.
And right, and also, but the other two are confirmed by doctors as coronavirus-related deaths. One death, elderly person, meaning over 80. Okay,
Right.
healthy for 80, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
The other person showed no symptoms. Showed no symptoms except for lack of taste,
Oh,
right,
interesting.
and smell. And then months later, got a blood clot and died.
Wow.
And
Wow.
the
Wow. Wow.
doctors believe that the only reason this person would get a blood clot, and you can look that up. I looked that up. Blood clots are a shown symptom of the coronavirus, especially I think if you're prone to blood clots. I think, but yeah. So don't quote me on that part of it. But yeah. So look, these are, and then the other person I know who died, we're not exactly sure, but was a smoker. Someone in their 60s. Okay, so that's the full information. The point is that these are people that I know. You know, so and other people, a guy I don't know that I have a lot of friends who know, passed away from the coronavirus. I believe he was 52 years old, perfectly healthy dude, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the other guy on Broadway I bring up was Nick Cordero. That's
Right.
more public guy. I don't know him, but we know this guy was singing and dancing on Broadway, 41 years old, right? So now my point is that some people like to say maybe, and this is stuff we don't know. I looked into it. It's like these people are dying because they have underlying symptoms, blah, blah, blah. But the thing I know is that if these underlying symptoms that people are getting really sick from, they're not things that people are conscious of. So there's stuff that you might have.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know?
exactly. You might have it and it might not be affecting you in your daily life, but if you contracted the coronavirus, it would exacerbate your existing symptom, your existing condition, and coronavirus would have an easier time kind of ransacking your body.
Right. Yeah. So I'm saying, so those are all right. I don't know the Broadway guy, and the other dude was a friend of a lot of my friends. So let's say I didn't know those two, but these other three I know directly, well. So that's not going by any news source. That's not from CNN. That's not Fox News. That's not biased. That's people I know, all dying. right? Like all dying in completely different circumstances, not super obese, terribly unhealthy person. One of the guys was not extremely healthy. That's what I said, just from mainly smoking.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's giving you the information I have. And my point is that I think just from that alone, if you know me, I have no reason to benefit from all this. You know what I'm saying? Any of this?
Yeah.
So I think that's enough to take it seriously there. Correct?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, cool. Now, I'll say the one thing I don't know. I haven't spoken to any. I know a couple of people have had coronavirus who now have tested negative a couple times. I haven't followed up with them about their breathing and stuff. I'm going to do that. I haven't asked anyone who's had coronavirus, like, how are you breathing now, months later? People, you
Right.
know?
I don't know anyone personally who's had it, but just from what I've seen online, public figures who've had it, or even just, people on the internet who I've seen who've been diagnosed and maybe were not, it was just like they were sick, but they weren't like super impacted by it. I don't know what the recovery looks like for those people either. So I'm
Right.
not quite sure.
So yeah, maybe that's something I'll look at. I'll ask my friends who's that. Anyway, cool. So the point is to give this more of a personalized touch. Okay,
Right.
now let's talk about masks. I want to jump into masks. The topics I want to talk about are masks, mask wearing. Where do we stand on masks? Are they
Mhm.
good? What's the deal with masks? Let's talk about Dr. Fauci. Can he be trusted? Is he good? I looked into Dr. Fauci. And should you be taking hydroxychloroquine? The basics. This is the basics. Right. Okay. And so masks. So here's the first thing about masks that everyone brings up. Even myself, okay? I was skeptical about the masks at first. Not because I was like an anti-mask guy, but at first, I'm talking March, right?
Yeah.
Early April. If you went on the WHO's website around the first episode of the Dan Black Attack or second episode, I talked to Neil Casey or something. If you went, I looked into this. If you went on the WHO's website and you looked up the masks, they said you don't need masks, okay? And they described how masks don't really protect you that much. They might do something, but they won't stop you from inhaling. So it's really confusing. Dr. Fauci said in the beginning, he said, you don't have to wear a mask, okay? So I see why people are confused there. Why did they say that? That was my question. Why did they tell us not to wear masks and then they told us to wear a mask? Okay, so one of the main reasons was initially, if you guys remember, there was a huge shortage of masks for frontline workers.
Right.
Okay.
Think back to March and April. Remember this. And they were advising the public, don't buy surgical masks. Make your own cloth mask if you can. Order them from a third party. But these medical workers need masks, and the public bought them up like so rapidly that there was a shortage.
Right. So there's a huge shortage of masks, and so they were reluctant to recommend the mask wearing to the general public. Now, that obviously makes sense. Look at toilet paper, look at hand sanitizer, right? Mm-hmm. So they realize, yes, so let's talk about that right there. This is where conspiracy starts coming in. People start thinking things are lies and conspiracy because they're right. There is a dishonest element to it. There is a manipulation, but it's a manipulation for a leadership to mass population, right?
Right.
Having nuanced conversation, which is a trap that like Trump even falls into, calling it nuanced is extremely generous, right? But he tries to be like, well, I was saying that if you want to do this, you want blah, blah, blah. And we've seen it. It's extremely confusing, right? He's having the conversation you'd have with a friend when you have no accountability. Like when I go to parties and I mansplain, right? And I go, who fucking cares? Like this conversation's dead. No one was listening anyway. And then the next day I changed my mind. Doesn't matter. Trump, that's how he's lived his whole life. Just charisma out there. And he's like, there's no consequences. But now it's all taped and every word he says is dissected. And he's not at all changed his behavior, So, yes, Dr. Fauci, they told you not to wear masks because they didn't know if they were going to do anything. And they're like, the frontline workers definitely need them. So let's make sure they get to them, especially because there was no strategy and there was a reluctancy to get this PPE from the presidency. We still don't, 6 months in, do not have a national plan for sharing resources within the state, with a national strategy for surging and how we all work together. Governors are still on their own, ordering supplies from overseas, China. The Patriots are sending their fucking airplane over there to get. Okay, so there is, right? You see the conspiracy element? There is a lie.
Yeah, right.
Okay, but also what I'd read is that Fauci was not sure we needed the masks because this virus is extremely new. Okay,
And there were many unknowns at the time, right?
Right.
Like if you wear a mask, like, is it airborne? Is it an aerosol? How long does it stay in the air based on the environment that you're in? Is a
Right.
mask even worth it? Yeah,
So here's where the manipulation element comes in again. These guys just have to kind of make a call. It's part of leadership, where it's like the answer is I don't know. But saying I don't know causes uncertainty, right? Mm-hmm. So the truth is it's a novel virus, right? It's brand new. So they're like, hey, you don't need to wear masks. But they kept looking into it, and then it turned out we didn't need to use a mask, right? So for HIV, it took years to fully understand how HIV was transmitted. Put that into perspective for yourself. Now we have every single person, it's almost common knowledge, knows how HIV is transmitted, right?
That's true.
You even know that breast milk has it in it, right? Down to that. They would teach me that since I'm like 10, you know?
Yeah.
But there was a time, literally, watch the movie, we bring it up every week, Philadelphia,
one of my faves.
In that movie, people, all the lawyers, they don't want to breathe around him, right? So we have to remember, we are in such uncharted territory for our civilization, right? We haven't had a pandemic in 100 years, so we forget how viruses work, right? It's crazy. Even the flu, we never lives our lives scared of the flu.
No, and flu shots are just a common thing. You can go to CVS and get a flu shot every year if you want. It's not controversial. I mean, some people choose not to get them. I choose not to get them, but It's easy. And we're familiar with the flu. You can Google what the flu is, what it looks like, what to do.
Right. But if you think about how we treat the flu, which, by the way, is extremely deadly, right? For people who are immunocompromised or elderly or young, But so that's another. Well, that's interesting, but even that, people are like, yeah, I don't know, I choose, do I get it? And if somebody, you don't go out trying to avoid getting the flu. We'd be on the subways, bars, elevators, whatever. Somebody sneezed, you wouldn't
even during flu season, there isn't oh my gosh, I'm gonna double down on hand sanitizer, avoiding touching things. It's just oh, it's flu season, I may choose to get a flu shot.
Right. So here's the deal, though, okay? This is a new virus. We don't know what it does. That blood clot thing, people are we don't know a lot about it. It's brand new. So if we go back to something like an HIV, right? If you look at that time, people who disregarded emerging recommendations for safe practices in the early days of HIV did not fare well as those who took precautions to protect themselves and their loved ones. The point being that even if they don't have it right, statistically, by following this stuff, you are better off and safer.
You mean erring on the side of caution?
It sounds dumb, but you should see my Facebook feed.
I mean, you should see Florida or Orange County. There's not a lot of erring on the side of caution in many parts of the country.
Right. Okay. So, point is that just by following even wrong, let's say masks are wrong, even by following that, statistically, you are on the side of being safer. Okay?
Yes.
So go through the pageantry because you will be safer. Okay, now, are masks 100% effective? Okay? So the gold standard is the N95 mask, okay? Um, which I have a couple of N95 masks that my mother-in-law mailed to me.
Oh,
Um, I think they're really hard to get now. Um,
I don't have them. I have cloth and I have like blue kind of
I would give
surgical
them to a
things.
hospital, but they're soiled already. Like they're
Right.
not like, you know.
Yeah.
Um, okay, but okay, so these masks, they're 95% effective at keeping the wearer free of inhaling viral particles. Okay, so these masks are extremely effective, and and if you look at it, nurses like once we had COVID kind of under control, nursing population, the deaths and sicknesses are not going up on medical professionals. They're
Mm-hmm.
effectively able to protect themselves. Okay, so let's get into it. Donald Trump, is he doing a good job? A lot of people say there's nothing he could have done, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I would entertain the argument that there's nothing maybe he could have done about it coming into the country, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he has this Defense Production Act, which he's very hesitant to put into effect. Now we're 6 months in. He's trying to reopen. This is the greatest country in the world. Almost every single one of us, even poor people, have these fucking $1,200 iPhones, right?
I know. I know.
So
Maybe
you're saying that we couldn't have figured out a program to have every American have one N95 mask that they reuse? Think about how safe we would have been if everyone had this mask, and right on our left and right could have came together to be. Look at the stuff. If you want a fucking hot dog, you could go get 40 different varieties of fucking hot dog right now,
Right.
right?
Right.
Okay.
Not only that, but if you want to see, like, look at a country like Japan, where or
But Erin, a
Australia.
hot dog probably has more ingredients in it than these masks.
Right. Right.
Do you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Think about
Right.
how many different. I was thinking of something that's so processed. That's why I said hot
Yes.
dog.
Well,
I'm
hot
sorry.
dog
What were
is
you saying about
fair.
the other countries?
Well,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
saying, like, if you want to look at, if we had all been given an N95 mask, or if we all had just elected to wear any kind of mask, maybe we could be where some of these other also densely populated countries like Japan are with their statistics.
Right. 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 And there's no like I don't know. I guess a taboo on masks over there, right? There's no
I mean,
stigma.
they wear masks anyways, I think.
Right. Well, when I went to Japan, people wear the masks. Like
Yeah.
you just see somebody in the mask. It's pretty funny because I used to think it was so silly. I'll be honest with the masks. Me and Jamie, like when we were in Japan, like they were selling them, and like it had like Mickey Mouse masks, like like all.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, I can't believe they've designs for these masks. And now I'm walking by LA Lakers masks every day. You know.
Right, you're on like WWE shop looking for
Yeah.
yeah.
Um. So anyway, okay, so the N95 masks, they right now have to be reserved for frontline workers, but surgical masks are less effective, and cloth face coverings, like if you just take a bandana or something, are even less so in protecting the wearer. But however, even an N95 mask literally has maybe I don't know if the 95 is for 95%
I don't
effective.
know.
I'm not sure if that's true. But that would make, if that is true, that would make a cloth covering an N50 mask because it's basically a 50% reduction in transmission, which to you might sound, oh, whatever, I'm 50-50 anyway. But statistically, if everybody has their mask covered, and that's having the transmission of the whole country instantly.
Right. Absolutely. Well, not only that, but combined with social distancing and good hygiene practices, that 50% is still very meaningful.
Right. And so also, like, when it comes to the thing I didn't say is, like, when it comes to spreading a virus and stuff, it depends how aerosolized it is. That is like takes a lot of study, right? Like
Mhm.
some viruses are like, and also they didn't know at the time, and they were hoping that can you transmit it before you're symptomatic? And it's yes, you could be pre-symptomatic, and even worse, you can be an asymptomatic spreader. This virus, in that case, is the worst of all worlds. Ebola, you had to be showing symptoms to transmit. Okay, and it was
Mhm.
way less contagious in terms of aerosolized, right? Meaning
Right.
it being airborne. This one, yes, you can look at the stats of how deadly is it, right? And you can be like, all right, it's less deadly even though it's pretty fucking deadly in my opinion, but it's less deadly, but it spreads so easy, which is a big problem because there's a lot of people.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Um. Okay. So. Okay. So yeah, the wearing the facial covering. It's when you cough or sneeze or talk or spray viral droplets into the air. It catches them. So I already covered all this. The mask, yeah, okay. It is okay, right? Okay. They say filter inserts are probably not necessary to make the mask. Okay, we'll get into that. Okay, here's important thing, right? So, do masks cause low oxygen levels?
Categorically, no, they do not. This is proven.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. I mean, you don't need, definitely not. You don't really need to be a scientist or anything to figure this out. Like, you can breathe with a mask on if it's made, it's like not like your mask is made of vinyl and you can't get air.
Mhm.
And there's many videos online made by teens who maybe have asthma. Like one that I saw that I liked, this girl has a little oxygen monitor and she shows you how much oxygen she's getting wearing
Oh,
N95 mask, surgical mask, cloth mask, and no mask. And guess what? It's the same amount of oxygen with all types of masks on. So it's a no brainer.
right.
You
Um,
can't breathe if you put a plastic bag over your head. Putting a piece of cloth or an N95 mask or whatever is not impeding your breath. It's just not.
Right. So the thing about the masks are, you got to think of it from this is like when I'm reading, it's more of a macro thing. So if you start being like, "All right, my mask, you got to cover your face," and this is where people are kind of dickheads in this world, right? Where you're like, everyone's being pretentious about the masks, which it needs to, you know, listen, it's tricky because I walk by people with no mask and it really pisses me off because you're like, you're in a public setting, but then you walk by people who have it down, and then in your head you're like, someone's judging me. But even if you have it down for a little bit, we're talking about statistically, if you have it up for even half your walk, you're doing work, scientific work to help
Yes.
your society because we're all keeping it less. It's from a macro level, right? So
Right.
it's less about like you're walking. You shouldn't think of it in terms of like you're walking and it's like you uncovered your mask. Oh, that walk didn't count because you exposed yourself. That's not what it is. It's about
Right.
just cutting on a big level, cutting the amount of droplets that are going out into that are
Yeah.
being caught. Right?
Right. Absolutely. And covering your face up. Say you have it down and you're on a walk and someone's walking towards you, pull your mask up, even if that person's not passing super close to you. It's a courtesy. And if you're talking, like, just because you're not like sneezing and like spraying out of your face doesn't mean it's not important and courteous to cover your shit up when you are in the vicinity of another person.
Yeah. Uh, it's just crazy. Like I'll walk the dogs.
Oh,
I'm walking
yeah.
my dogs, and I'll have my mask down around my chin. I do it a lot, frankly. If no one's
Yeah.
around me, I'm not just covering my mouth just to cover, just because like
Yeah.
if there's no one there. I'll be like, all right, well, I'll breathe because no one's here. A lot of times I walk my dog super early morning or like
Same.
pretty late at night, like 10 at night or something.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like empty out there. It's fine. But I'm bumping into people, two couples, no masks, just walking with the dog, and then they want to like have our dogs like play.
Absolutely
I'm like,
not.
what are you nuts?
No, I know. I walked past two women and I had my mask on. I just like I will wear it most of the time when I'm walking my dog just because I don't like to pull it down, put it back up. And I walked past two women having like a full blown conversation, no masks on, easily over the age of 65. I saw another girl who was like yelling into her phone, no mask on. It's not, it's frustrating.
Uh, so uh, 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 the thing with the really interesting thing about the masks, and I think the most telling thing about coronavirus and how it relates to the mask is like you, and I guess this is a biased perspective, but you now walk by somebody and see their allegiance, right? Like you
Yeah.
see if they're a complete asshole. Now it doesn't mean if you have your mask down you're necessarily a Trump supporter or whatnot. That, like, I don't mean it like that. It's not like the no mask equals MAGA, but it does show a level of ignorance, right?
Yeah. It
And
just shows like you just
selfishness
don't, yeah,
and
exactly.
a personality
Selfishness.
that you don't. That, like, to me, I'm like, it's. I know if somebody's walking around with no mask, right, in this climate, and
Yeah.
during this pandemic, you're walking around. You think it's cool to walk in a neighborhood where you know everybody is wearing a mask, and you think that's. I'm like, oh, I immediately see you, and I know it's like wearing a sign. It's like we're wearing the glasses from They Live, and you're like, I
Right.
see who the pricks are. You know?
Right. And just you may, and also signals that maybe they just don't take it seriously and think that it doesn't apply to them, or like this is no big deal, but you can literally kill someone inadvertently with your droplets.
Right. Also, it just means like you. It just shows. It's like you don't. It's a couple things. It's either you are ignorant, you just don't know, right?
Mhm.
It could
Okay.
mean you're just young, right? Like I walked by these these girls who were getting out of a car and they saw their friends and they hugged their friends, like, and it was a hug of like I haven't seen you in a while hug. And they
Yeah.
were like probably 19, 18, you know, like something like that. And
Mhm.
you're like, all right, I get it. When you're that age, like you're the fucking square if you're the one who's like, I don't think we should hug. Like that's like a pretty brave thing to do, you know?
Yeah. Mhm.
Because you know that culture. We all know being like a teen. You know, like the fucking cool guy's gonna be like, who gives a shit? I mean, I have friends who are like, yeah, whatever, fuck that. But like,
Well,
I
and it's
don't
just
get.
like you're reckless. You're more
At this
reckless and
point,
think like untouchable.
right at this point, I am who I am. Like, I'm not gonna be bullied by like someone. I'm not persuaded. But when I was younger, if everyone was not wearing a mask, I'm not gonna be the guy wearing the mask. I was not that strong of a dude.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Um, but it is kind of crazy. You either have that, so you have young, you have just ignorant, you like just don't watch the news, whatever. You have a full on like just a Trump like loving asshole, like free or like a freedom person or something, right?
Someone who's proud to not be wearing the mask.
Right, or like hoax people. So any of those categories are things people I don't want to hang out with. Young people, woo, woo. Oh wow, I sneezed.
Bless you.
Young people, assholes, ignorant people. It's a whole category. So you know it's kind of a great way to make friends. You see about somebody in a mask, you're like, this person
Elbow,
is
elbow bump
legit.
that person.
Oh man. But anyway, and then also this, you see people wearing the blue surgical masks, and just to point out, that's not what an N95 mask is. Just like the blue fan masks.
Right. I have one of those. It's not.
Right. Those are and so yeah, those are better than just like a t-shirt or a bandana, but they also do not they may have a slightly higher percentage, but I put them more in the 50% category. Still good to wear them. But just to point out, so, okay, here's where conspiracy comes from. FDA has not approved any type of surgical mask specifically for protection against the coronavirus. Okay, but I think we've already explained from the discussion that's not what this is doing,
Yeah.
right? What we're
Right.
doing is we're limiting exposure for everybody. Great, cool. So here's my next question. You seen those? My next question I had is, what's the deal with those face shields?
Oh, yeah. Like the splash guards, the plastic face
Right. So
shields.
Erin, what do you think? I didn't share this information with you. Do
Hmm.
you think a face shield is more effective, less effective than a mask? Um, Yeah, where are you at? Are they good or are they bad? What do you think?
Well, my opinion on a face shield is more, I think the face covering, like when I wear a mask, I believe that's to reduce the release of my own droplets into the
Right.
air, but I see a face shield as a protective measure from other people's droplets.
Right.
But as far as the efficacy goes, I would say maybe it's on the lower end just because there's a lot of openings on the side and on the bottom, but
Okay.
I'm not sure. Hospital workers wear them, so I'm guessing it's a protective measure,
So you're
but
going to
I don't
say
know.
less than the mask.
Yeah, I'll say less than
Would
the
you like to
mask.
lock that in?
I'm going to lock in. Yeah.
All right. Locked in. Erin, the answer to is a face shield more effective than a mask? My answer is I have no fucking idea. Okay, so
That's a
I
fair
don't know.
answer. You're
I
locked.
looked at a couple of sources. You guys know how the regular guy news works. I'll read at least 2 articles. And I actually looked at more for this. A couple of sites I hit. I was looking at WebMD. I was actually on the AARP website. They had
Oh,
an article about this because I think the old people are very interested in the face shields, obviously because of they don't want to cover their mouths as much.
right.
Um, Also because they want to show their facial expressions to
Uh,
like this is what they're saying like to medical worker people tending to them. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
And sometimes, yeah. Anyway, sometimes they were saying like I don't know, whatever, a bunch of reasons, a bunch of
Right.
sadder stuff why you need your mouth. Okay, so but I really had no fucking idea. I read like back and forth, so I'll just give you the information, and this is where it starts being like we don't know. We don't know everything. So some of the stuff
hmm
is kind of choose your own adventure, and it feels bad. You know what I mean? But
Right.
okay, here we go. Um, so face shields, they say, are most frequently used in healthcare settings,
Yeah.
in tandem with masks. You know?
Right.
Okay, but is it a better option? So some say no. Health officials in Switzerland recently warned that the shields alone may not offer as much protection as masks alone. In a recent outbreak at a hotel, some employees and a guest who wore plastic visor-style shields tested positive, while those who wore masks did not.
Right. Because there's no filter. You're still sucking up air from beneath the plastic guard. Like I said, I think I see it as a protective measure. It's like if you sneeze at me, at least I'm not getting those droplets like in my eye.
Right. Well, because the health. So then I read another thing. A healthcare worker saying, "I don't wear the shield alone.
hmm
At work, the whole point of the shield is to keep particulate matter. Is that a thing? Particulate matter?
AKA particles.
Yeah, come on, guy. I know you're a doctor, but relax. This is Anne Marie, a dentist in private practice in Broken Bow, Oklahoma, real persnickety, Oklahoma.
Oh boy.
Wow, particulate matter.
Oh.
Okay. Anyway, she goes, the N95 mask I wear under it helps filter breathing the virus. And our greatest risk is to inhale an aerosol at work, more so than focusing on the droplets.
Okay.
You see, like droplets and inhalation, I don't think I think even now we don't have full clarity on the transmission of coronavirus. That's why
Right.
we don't even know. And again, go back to HIV. Years, even when they knew, people thought, don't shake hands with people who have HIV, right? Stuff like that.
hmm
Don't be in the same room as them. Don't touch them, right?
Right.
So we're in that zone of this virus. We're going to look back in a year from now and laugh about what we didn't know, you know?
I mean, even if we look back at like March, like the
And we're
no
not going to laugh
mask,
at any of this, by the way. But
no,
yeah.
we're going to shake our heads. But
Mhm.
yeah, even March, which was not that long ago in the great scheme of things, like it just feels totally different than it does now.
Okay. So anyway, here's the confusion. So this is the CDC. They say they recommend to wear cloth face coverings in public settings um, where social distancing measures are difficult to maintain. Now, I just want to point that out before I move on. Social distance is, even though we don't know, masks, face shields, blah, blah, blah. No one, no one debates social distancing. That,
Not even the president. he
right.
he promotes social distancing.
That is a constant in anything I've looked at, read. Like social distance is universally accepted, right? So stay away from people. Somebody's getting close to you, getting too close for you, and you got to look like the idiot or the jerk, or you got to push yourself out of your comfort zone. You're not normally an assertive person like that, or
Hmm.
confrontational. Say to somebody, hey, you could be like, I'm just trying to be like extra careful, right? You could
Yeah.
do that. Say, hey, like, so I did that. I was close to somebody, like, I'm not like, I felt real weird, but I was like, I put my mask on. This person was in the same room as me. I put my N95 mask on,
Yeah.
and I felt like felt like insulting them, you know. But
Right.
I
Like,
was like, I said, I'm trying to be better about wearing the mask. That was my line,
yeah. That's fair. I think it's fair.
right?
In this climate, I don't think that worrying about other people's judgment or hurting
Right,
someone's feelings or having your feelings
right.
hurt shouldn't even be a consideration.
Yeah, but this is something happening. Like, it's like we're truly in the weakest link. It takes one person to, like, I don't know
Hmm.
why I'm losing all of these cliches. It takes
Right.
one person to eat the ship. What's the expression I'm looking for?
It
No, it's like
takes,
the weakest link, right? It takes
yeah.
You're only as strong as your weakest member or whatever, right? Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
it just takes one person to blow it for everybody because
Yeah.
of how non-confrontational people are,
Like
right?
at these super spreader parties, it's like, oh, one person who came to like Johnny's birthday party had it. Now 40 people in Pasadena have it.
Right.
Like,
Because I bet these super spreader parties or whatever, not the ones that are like, oh, everyone's there to try to get COVID or whatever, but like
oh, right.
just
Those
people
are
at a party. I bet half of the people there are like, this is so dumb. I'm not gonna get it. It's gonna be fine, but like, what am I doing? Right?
right. Yeah.
Um, and if you're like a college kid, everyone's like, yeah, you're going to this party. Your FOMO is strong.
Yeah. I can
Yes.
imagine.
Anyway, so CDC saying wear a cloth covering, but they're saying some health experts say shields appear to be very effective at preventing infection, maybe even more effective than masks for someone going about regular daily activities and not in high-risk healthcare settings. So this is even saying that, like, if you're not, it's better to wear a mask in your regular life. So I don't know. And then I saw another thing, which I didn't quote here. Someone was saying they're not worried about droplets going under the mask, the shield. They're not
Hmm.
worried about it.
Okay. All
And
right.
I was
Fair
like,
enough.
so honestly, I have
But
no idea.
now I don't know.
I don't know, but what we do know is social distancing works. I think personally, for me, you have to make your own call. I think the shield, I feel exposed with it on.
Yeah.
I have one. I think the shield is. I have the one that's the glasses. When I'm wearing the shield, I wear it with the mask. Like if I'm going
Right.
out.
I wouldn't wear it just by itself. And
Yeah.
here in LA, I see them a lot, like people maybe on a hike or something. I see people with like the shaded ones, so they're like big sunglasses,
Right.
and they're always paired with a mask.
So, all right, how to wear a face shield. So, if you are a face shield guy, because I have friends who are wearing this shield, okay, note that, okay, this is agreed upon. It should extend below the chin,
Mm.
okay?
Hmm.
Okay, it should also cover your ears, and there should be no exposed gap between the forehead and the shield headpiece. Now, that's interesting because the one I have, there is a space there
Yeah,
because it's
put like a
connected
piece
to
of paper
glasses.
towel in there. Yeah.
Okay, so you caught me breaking my own pod rules. All right, that's a first. Shields have a number of advantages over masks, and one of the main things they say is that they're easy to clean. Like a lot of times they're saying these masks, they're falling on the ground. One thing they don't like about interesting thing about masks, talking about from a macro standpoint, this I thought was really interesting. You're seeing a lot of masks when you're walking around on the ground, right? People are dropping
Oh
their
my
masks.
God. Yeah, the sidewalks are littered with masks.
Right. They're saying that's a huge problem, right? Because it kind of defeats the whole purpose. If you're leaving trash masks, right? If you're littering with masks, and that's another argument for the shields, is because the shields are easier to clean, less of them on the ground, because they're like, oh, well, now these are like infected hotspots during your walk.
Right, right, right. I know, right? They're everywhere. I would advise maybe just like a non-disposable cloth mask that you can toss in the dry or the washing machine and
Right.
refresh when you need it.
The use of face shield also is a reminder to maintain social distancing because it allows facial visibility. And you can see lip movements. So naturally, they think it's easier to be further apart because you could see more expressions and lip readed stuff. So look, I don't know about the face shields. I don't know. But it's better than fucking nothing. If you're like, I'm not doing the mask, then put on the shield. I'll take it.
Clip on the visor.
Right. Erin, that's all the information I have right now about masks. Did you learn anything? What do you think?
Well, I definitely learned a lot about face shields. I don't have one, and no one I know rocks a face shield regularly, so I did not know anything about it. And yeah, I think it's, the macro level, like you said, if this could be halved, even if we all just wore like lousy homemade t-shirt masks.
I got these, I bought these from Home Depot. These are like glasses you wear if you're like
in shop class.
You're in shop. I got shop glasses.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, well, they protect your eyes from. See, that's the one thing we're not talking about yet. We're not talking about I feel like we should be covering our eyes.
You know what? I think a lot about eye infections because, like, I'm always getting like stuff in my eye, like debris or whatever. Like, I don't know. I got like my eyes are always open and I get stuff in them a lot. So I think about Corona going in there. So, I wear sunglasses a lot.
See, people getting to cover their eyes would be no problem. Everyone would just be like, yeah, fuck yeah.
Oh, I'm going to get a pair of Oakleys.
All the time. As a matter of fact, for the douches, so if you're a huge douche, like the people I see walking around in my neighborhood in LA, a lot of D-bags here, me included. I don't exclude myself from that. I wouldn't do that to myself. But a lot of then, at least if you're wearing sunglasses at night, pull that douche routine, you're covering an orifice. That's something.
Dude, yeah, and get the wraparound Oakleys so you get the full coverage on the sides. It's a vibe.
All right, so that is my coverage on masks. Oh, all right. Now let's move on to talking about Dr. Tony Fauci. Dr. Anthony Fauci, 5'7", 79-year-old man, head of the Center for Disease Control. The what is it? The allergen and human. I don't know. What is he? Yeah, it's the. I never remember what he's the head of. It's the allergen and infectious disease. That's what it is.
Gotcha.
The Center for Allergen. It's something you're like, we have that?
Oh, the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. He's been the director there since 1984. Yeah,
84. He's been the director of it. So, a lot of attacks on the character and less about character, more about credibility. I don't think there's actually been any knocks on the character of Dr. Fauci, really, even from the Trump administration. As a matter of fact, part of their strategy to say he's a good, nice man, but then completely discredit his work and his accolades. So, all right, cool. Let's hear him out. So, look, the President of the United States, he's got his pulpit. He's telling us that he's actively working against this guy. He thinks this guy is not fit to be at these daily briefings. He thinks that he should be giving these briefings, not a doctor, a businessman, no political experience except for being, I guess he's the president for 3.5 years. I guess that's probably more experience than many people get in a lifetime, so I could give him that. But not saying he did a great job.
Even that's pretty loose.
But what I'm saying is that, okay, one thing you got to understand about Fauci in the news right now. Remember, Fauci works for the president. So what I don't really understand is this. I'm not sure how. I mean, I know how, but if you, what Trump has done to himself is he's dug himself such a hole with such short-term thinking because he got so freaked out by this election looming, right? And he gambled and is, from all accounts, seems to be a losing strategy, knowing that we're headed into fall, the flu season, with this virus going way up, surging, not remotely contained in what experts say was, and other countries' example shown was a reasonable amount of time to get this thing under control. So for his and probably comes from lobby. This I actually didn't look into, but we know is true. Our election systems are heavily funded by lobby groups. Look at Citizens United. You get unlimited funding to campaigns. So Trump is in the pocket of people, and the people he's in the pocket of are like, open this shit up. We've talked about WWE. You can look at that from a standpoint of we saw money go directly into there to keep that open. We know, look, the point is that we know the pressures on him to open stuff up, get the economy going. Plus, he was running, the main thing is he's running on this amazing economy that he had going. We can argue an economy that worked for only a select portion of the population.
Right.
That has imploded. But regardless, if he, in his mind, and probably looked good for him, he was probably most people before coronavirus. If you said to them, "Would Trump get reelected?" Most people I know who hate Trump were. Yes, he's getting it.
Yeah.
Everyone was bracing for him to be reelected because the economy's booming and things seem to be not good, but not but good for the people who yeah, whatever. Good for his ilk. I'm going down the road. I don't want. I'm veering off. Okay. This pandemic hit. He was like, his strategy was to ignore this virus, and it's biting him in the ass. Now, that being said, he has all this stuff at his disposal as the president. So instead of taking credit for a guy like Fauci, which would have been the move, the move would have been, let's put these people on display, put my ego aside, focus on getting this crisis under control, which, by the way, is an amazing strategy to unite. Especially a lot of dictators come to power in crises. You know? Am I making this up? Didn't FDR ran for a third? He had a third term.
I don't know.
Did I make that up? Can we Google that?
That's a history question. Yeah.
Did I make that up? No, I don't think I would make that up. I was a smart guy. How did FDR serve 4 terms?
He did.
Okay.
Indeed.
Right. Okay. So that's like unheard of now. But if you want to run for, my thought is like, all right, so if Trump is this like genius dictator people think he is, right?
Right.
Or he's going to be he wants to be this dictator. The way is to get this crisis under control where people love your leadership and want more of it, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
So like, I saw Obama speaking the other day, and I was like, "Let's bring him back," just because of like, right? Because he calms me down. Whether you can argue he's a good president or not, did he work for you? Did you have problems with what he did? I'm just talking about he just soothes me. Even though, yes, he bailed out. If you look at him, he bailed out a lot of shit banks, and he's responsible for a shit ton of drone strikes. There's a problem with stuff he's done, but at the same time, he calms me down, you know?
Right. And right now we're dealing with a pandemic that is like on American soil. And the way Obama speaks is just like, oh, this is the leader of the free world. Like, I buy this.
Right. So now Trump, his lying ways, and I don't think that's being partisan. He's just a factual liar. It's a fact to say that he's a liar.
Absolutely.
He lies a lot.
All the time.
Right. Now he's brought himself in this position where he has to discredit Fauci, who's saying this virus is bad, when his whole thing is he wants to open schools. You can't open the economy without opening schools, because who watches the kids when people are at work, right? Who watches The Watchmen?
Right.
So that doesn't apply here. I just wanted to say that because it's my favorite book. Okay, so here's the deal. A lot of President Obama, Trump's campaign has given what amounts to opposition research, meaning like research you do against a political candidate. They've done that against Fauci. It's documented that like they are actively trying to discredit him. And if you look at the stuff, even Trump will say he's a nice guy, but if you look at his Twitter feed, it's the complete opposite of what he's actually saying in real life. So what he's saying in these press conferences is like, oh, we get along, but then he will retweet conspiracies. So I think it's proven that he's trying to actively discredit Fauci. So my question is there any reason for that? Now, I want to say one thing. I see a lot of arguments against Fauci. Like, he took a lot of heat on my Facebook group again because of throwing out the first pitch at the Nationals game. And there was like a photo shoot he did for a magazine or something. And I want to go on record before we get into this saying that I don't think he should be doing that shit. Like,
Right.
I actually agree. I've called me old fashioned, but we need to lose this whole like Bill Clinton, I play the sax, everybody's a celebrity, right? Like, and go back to just boring ass. We need to find a way to glorify doing your job properly.
Yes, right. And also just kind of like walking the walk and talking the talk and setting a good example and not going to sporting events to throw
Right.
out a pitch, even though Trump, that he lied about, he was jealous. And
Yeah, I mean, whatever. That's like Trump literally was like, that's crazy because like the Yankees are like gods in my family. I have lineage of my family's all from the Bronx. My grandfather my grandfather, another Fauci's not Jewish, but 5'7" Jewish man, signed up. Joe DiMaggio signed up to go into World War II. He's on the Yankees. My grandfather signed up to fight, right? Like the Yankees are like
an institution.
Right. We had season tickets for a long time. So I saw Trump throwing out the first pitch at the first Yankee game. I text my whole family to be like, can you fucking believe this?
Right.
Right? Like, I'm like, I can't even believe this. I'm like, how would the Yankee, like, we didn't have our season ticket anymore, but I'm like, I would pull them. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely.
Right?
And you were right to be like, can you believe this? This is
yeah, because it didn't feel like the Yankees would do that. You know what I mean?
No.
That's not like, right? I was like, what? And then my dad's like, yeah, Steinbrenner was a big Trump guy. And I was like, yeah, but Steinbrenner's dead for like 10 years. Like,
right.
All right, whatever. And then it turns out today, Trump, he didn't even talk to the Yankees. He just said, I'm going to do that.
He was never invited. And he was jealous that Fauci got to actually do it at a Nationals game. And so he said, I'm going to do it at a Yankees game because the Yankees are cooler than the Nationals. So, but he was never invited. And not only the Yankees never invited him, and White House staff were like, what are you talking about? Like, no, you weren't. Like, what is this? You just made it up.
Yeah, we're recording this, by the way, on July 28th, and this is one of Trump's more implosion-y days, which is nuts. Today he was off the deep end of ridiculous behavior. Anyway, so my point is to criticize Fauci for a second. I don't fully blame him, but I don't need everyone to be a Kardashian. Like, I don't need a Fauci Instagram. And as a society, we need to stop demanding that, like, fucking Hillary Clinton has to do the fucking Macarena with Jimmy Kimmel or Fallon, not Kimmel. I'll give Kimmel some credit. We like Fallon to like look cool. It's like, it's okay to just be a fucking dork. Hillary Clinton was and is a dork, and it's all good.
Right. There's no credibility. There shouldn't be credibility based on like kind of being viral or being cute on the internet or popular on social media. Like, that's not what we should want first and foremost from politicians.
Yeah. So to me, I feel like Fauci should know better than this. Like, right now we're in the middle of a pandemic. You do not look better. Like, throwing out the pitch, like, I think it's just a bad look. You should be in the lab 24 hours a day in kayfabe. Like, I understand you're going to go home and unwind how you want, but then he's like on public display. He's sitting with two people in the stands. They're probably his son and the nephew. Who cares? But a picture of him with the mask down, like, we don't need that. You know? We need the mask up. Like, throw the pitch. If you're going to throw the pitch, do it just to be like, look, I'm wearing a mask. Throw the shitty pitch, and then that's it. You're gone. You're back to work. You don't have time to. I can't. He's watching baseball. Okay, so that's me criticizing that behavior. All right. That being said, this guy is a national treasure, a patriot and like everything that makes America great is like this guy, right? And that's part of our broken political system that has become pageantry. Like today I was watching Anthony Barr. Is his name Anthony? Whatever. The Attorney General, Attorney General Barr. They rarely say his first name. Is it Anthony? I don't know.
It's Roseanne.
Yeah, it's Roseanne Barr. I was watching. I mean, they have a similar energy, but yeah, like I'm watching him, and they do this thing. And I mean, this guy's a fucking basically a criminal. Okay, if you ask me, but the way they do these interrogations, it's wrestling. Like I always say, this shit's it's all kayfabe because it's all about the sound clips. So I watched it live, right, and it would go like this. It would be like, all right, Erin, I'll ask you a question. I'm gonna be like kind of a jerk to you right now, just because like for this case. So you're Barr. Unfortunately, you're playing Barr, and that's right. And I'll be like, all right, Barr. And a yes or no question, okay? Do you believe that it is okay for a president to do this? Yes or no?
Well, in my opinion,
yes or no? Yes or no? I'm asking only yes or no.
No.
Yes. Yeah. No. Okay. No. Good. Right. No. So on this day, now answer this yes or no. Right. So and then you see later. Right now they're making some good points, but they're not having a conversation. Right. And then you see later, I see the clips of it, and I'm like, oh, they're playing for the fucking wrestling clips, the promo, for the package later, for the news, because no one's watching except for me watching a live 5-hour Senate hearing, right?
Right.
I like it. I find that I love that boring shit. Like I love it, you know.
Well, you like to see things live. You want to get the full picture.
But you're like, oh, so they're just playing for that as opposed to actually having some kind of dialogue. Now, that being said, like, okay, they're like scared he's going to weasel his way out of it. But, like, I think you back somebody. And AOC does it all the time. She has all these clips. And you're like, yeah, she makes awesome points. But these are our elected officials, right, not communicating.
Right. Because
they know communicating is pointless. So they're better off getting the outrage from voters. You know,
yeah.
So it's a lot. So it's like they're all doing this. So yeah, Fauci, he's got to be there because it's like make his image, and who knows? They probably give him a fucking PR person. Okay,
no doubt.
Right. I want to wait. What's your opinion on that? Like with the photo shoots thing, do you think like him throwing out the pitch? Do you think I'm overreacting to that, or what do you think? Do you like it?
I don't like it. I don't think it's necessary. I agree. Like, for someone like Fauci, who is this like very meaningful figure, and like I think we do see him as a treasure,
right.
It would be more maybe soothing or comforting to know that he's still working, that he's going to keep talking to the media, and he's going to do all this stuff. I understand, like you said, that he has downtime, but throwing out the pitch at a sporting event, which is a little bit suspect that they're having it to begin with, is not sending the best message. It's not really consistent with how I see Dr. Fauci. So, I mean, the photo shoot, everything, like you said, he probably has a PR person. He can't do this alone, especially with Trump coming for his neck now on Twitter.
Because the Marlins have 2 games, right? They've had 2 games, and now they have the coronavirus, right?
Right.
Because if you look at how baseball's doing it, it's just like whatever. The guys who live in Florida live by Florida rules, which is the land of no rules at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, yeah, of course, they're getting infected. Like, there's no actual – it's not like, well, the NBA, what they're doing, not that I think I don't think we should have any sports because I don't think it works. And I think all of our morale being tied into sports is just kind of a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
In fact, we're like, we're talking about we need our sports every second. Like, it actually puts food on tables, like you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But the point is that the NBA, they're saying, oh, they're going to be like in a cluster, they're all going to be in that. That's it's not going to work anyway. But so what I'm saying is like Fauci should be like, hey, they're not actually following my guidelines. But I think his generation, they like baseball's so important. That's like World War II
that's what it is? It's like it's because of baseball. Okay, that's interesting.
It's like an American pastime. Like baseball's so important to America for those guys.
I know. I mean, if I'm Fauci, to me, it would be like, hey, I'm not going to go. I love baseball, but I'm not going to go to the baseball game because I don't believe that this is safe. But if what you're saying, which I have no concept of,
Right.
is that baseball is so important and it's such a part of life for like
Yeah.
Fauci's generation, then I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah, I think it is like like kind of like a
That's
league of
really
their
weird.
own. Like the men
All
are at
right.
war, and like baseball must go on. And
Mm,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, okay, so let's just talk about Fauci for a second.
Okay.
So, okay, Dr. Fauci. Okay, I don't even know how to say half of these words, but I didn't want to water this down. He's widely recognized for delineating the precise ways that immunosuppressive agents modulate the human immune response. He had developed effective therapies for formerly fatal inflammatory and immune mediated diseases such as polyarteritis nodosa, granulomatosis, polygon. The point is shit that you can't even pronounce. This guy is studying and curing. Okay. A 1985 Stanford University Arthritis Center survey of their American Rheumatism Association membership ranked Dr. Fauci's work on the treatment of polyarteritis nodosa among the most important advances in patient management in rheumatology over the previous 20 years. Okay, so we're talking about
Wow.
extremely decorated guy. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Now Dr. Fauci is extremely famous for his role in HIV. This is
Right.
really interesting. Fauci has made seminal contributions to the understanding of how HIV destroys the body's defense, leading to its susceptibility to deadly infections. Further, he has been instrumental in developing treatments that enable people with HIV to live long and active lives. He continues to devote much of his research to the immunopathogenic mechanisms of HIV infection and the scope of the body's immune response to HIV. Okay? In 2020 analysis of Google Scholar citations, Dr. Fauci ranked as the 41st most highly cited researcher of all time. Okay?
Really? That's fascinating.
Yeah. According to the Web of Science, he ranked 8th out of more than 2.2 million authors in the field of immunology by total citation count between 1980 and January 2020.
Wow.
So
He's
the
got his
point,
credits.
right? We have this secret weapon, right? So we have this. We talk. You watch Donald Trump in the same day. We'll be like, I want only immigration to this country of the most talented people, like shit like that. You're like,
Hmm.
but at the same time, we have a guy, Dr. Fauci, whose parents are Italian immigrants into America, who is our most talented guy, a descendant of immigrants, and we have no recognition of the fact that the system actually is working, that America is working.
Right.
And you are working against our immigrants with this short-sighted view of the fact that Fauci essentially is an immigrant, and he's the most decorated guy in his field, and we're undercutting him.
And he's being undercut today because of Trump's own personal beef with him and his jealousy and him not liking to share the spotlight with Fauci and not wanting to own up to his own, misspeakings and misinformation. Like it's really crazy.
Right. Um. Okay. So here's the most interesting thing I think I found about Fauci. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So listen to this. Leading AIDS activist Larry Kramer attacked Fauci relentlessly in the media. He called him an incompetent idiot and a pill-pushing tool of the medical establishment. Fauci did not have control over drug approval, though many people felt he was not doing enough. Fauci did make an effort in the late 1980s to reach out to the gay community in New York and San Francisco to find ways he and the NIAID, which is my source, by the way, could find a solution. Though Fauci was initially admonished for his treatment of the AIDS epidemic, Fauci's work in the community was eventually acknowledged. Kramer, who had spent years hating Fauci for his treatment of the HIV/AIDS epidemic, eventually called him the only true and great hero among government officials in the AIDS crisis. So Fauci
Wow.
being attacked for his early work on something is already precedented.
Yeah. That's very interesting.
Let this man do his fucking thing.
I know.
You know?
And Fauci, like, he is a doctor. Like, there should be no like partisan opinion on this. Like, he is a proven professional, decorated researcher and scholar. Like,
Right.
we should all, whoever you support, want to listen to this person. And whether or not it goes against what Trump says should not sway your opinion on Fauci. Like,
Right.
let him do his fucking thing.
That's what I'm saying. So anytime we have a press conference without Fauci at it about the coronavirus and it's just Donald Trump,
Ugh.
then let me tell you what he's doing when he says, oh, the news, you can't get, the fake news. What he's doing is making us rely more on the fake news because we can't trust him. So
Right.
we could just listen to the expert, but we don't get him. And Fauci, by the way, that's probably why he doesn't flip out so much. He's used to being criticized. This is par for the course for him. The beginning, everybody jumps down his throat,
Yeah.
and then he does his thing, and he'll come out, and everyone will be like, this guy's a fucking hero, just like he was when it came to AIDS. They yelled at him for pushing, yeah, I kind of skipped the part, but yeah, because a lot of the medicines early on were not correct. But okay, so yeah, that's it. So Erin, let's jump over.
Mm-hmm.
So Fauci is good. Fauci,
He's a
you
good
should demand to hear
doctor.
from anyone who says Fauci doesn't know. Again, it's just like when somebody's too close to you. You should say, you put the mask on. You be like, oh, let's keep distance, right? Be effectively affect yourself. But like, just like I had somebody say to me recently, they were like, oh, I just think the mask, it's not good for breathing in. And I was like, that's not true. And I did it politely, but I was like, not going to let this person who I know has children walking around spewing. Normally we live our lives. We let people say bullshit. That's how America got into this mess. We let everybody have their own opinions. Oh, he said that. You call him an asshole in the car ride home. Help them now. Have these conversations in the moment. It's fine. They don't need to talk to you again. You don't need them as friends. All right. So Fauci, if somebody says Fauci, he's an idiot, doesn't know what he's talking about, Fauci couldn't be further from an idiot. And luckily, to be positive, his approval rating, extremely high. People trust Fauci. That's why you're not seeing him. That's how sick this president is.
Yes. Yeah, sick. And it's really a shame not to see him because I always, I value his opinion and his knowledge. And I really like seeing, it's like with Barack, like I feel like confident that what I'm hearing when he speaks.
Barack. All right,
I
Erin,
love Barack.
I'm gonna turn it over to you. I want to
Okay.
talk about hydroxychloroquine. So now let's go to the president's drug that he keeps pushing. I'm gonna give a little bit of facts about hydroxychloroquine, and then I want you you were gonna give us
I have a special report.
RGN special report,
Yeah,
right?
I have an RGN special report that is tangentially related to hydroxychloroquine.
Okay, so I'll just say the president, by the way, says he took hydroxychloroquine. I think I don't know. They don't. This is part of what's really tricky about the news nowadays is if he says it, they have to have proof. Blah blah blah. But he's lying. He did not take it. Why would he take a drug for no fucking reason when you're showing no symptoms?
And he said he took it for 2 weeks.
What was that about? He just said it because he doesn't know what to say.
Right.
I doubt he took it. That's why we could say it here. There's not enough medical data at this time to prove that hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine, which is the two medications that go together, okay? Which, by the way, okay, I'll start from the beginning. Hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine, they're two medications that have been used for many decades to treat malaria and autoimmune conditions like rheumatoid arthritis and lupus. So they're very effective at treating that stuff, though even for that stuff have some side effects, but are better than having the symptoms of lupus and malaria.
Right. And it's also potentially dangerous if you have underlying conditions, in particular with your heart.
Right. So, yeah, there have been studies showing that that the FDA has issued warnings saying that serious heart-related side effects of hydroxychloroquine have been seen. Like, so if you have any kind of irregular heartbeat or anything, this will make it way worse. Is what they're saying. So him saying this stuff, he's like, I don't know, I took it. I mean, he's literally killing people. Think about the reach of the president of the United States and people who are not paying super, super close attention who are just like, oh, I heard that, and they've got doctors who will give it to them because there are quack doctors out there, which we will get into in a second in our RGN special report. But the FDA is saying it's no longer reasonable to believe that hydroxychloroquine was effective in treating COVID-19 and revoked the emergency use authorization for these medications, which they only pushed through just because the president was pushing it. But they are having some success with remdesivir, and so that's where we're at. Erin,
Yeah.
I'm going to throw it over to you for our RGN special report about these doctors who were spewing that hydroxychloroquine cures COVID-19.
Yes. I am delighted to bring you an RGN special report this evening on...
This is an RGN special report with Erin Finnerty. All right.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah,
Thank you, Dan.
yeah.
So
I do my own live announcing, so I apologize.
I really enjoy it. We all know over the last couple days there was an explosion on Twitter because Donald Trump retweeted a video basically saying that hydrochloroquine is the cure for COVID-19. This video was then taken down off of Twitter, taken off of Facebook for misinformation. Now, this video was what they called the White Coat Summit. And the participants in this video are a group who have designated themselves within the last 2 weeks as America's frontline doctors.
Now, Erin, I just want to say, just as a continuing thing, I saw this right as it was happening.
I was going to point that out. Dan saw this video like he saw the Nick Cannon video before it was taken down.
Yeah.
Dan is at the forefront of whack videos being posted on the internet.
I was watching this thing. I was like, I really had no idea what I was watching, but I'll let you keep going, then I'll describe my experience watching it.
Yes. So a little bit about this video. So this group gathered and they call themselves America's Frontline Doctors, and they were disputing the medical consensus on coronavirus and basically promoting hydroxychloroquine. And today, during President Trump's press conference, he was questioned about this video, and he referred to the many great doctors. He was like, I don't really know what they were talking about, but I've taken it. And he promoted this video, and it was taken down. And he said, I don't know why it was taken down. These are great doctors. Maybe Facebook or Twitter had some reason, but they took it down. The reason was that it was misinformation because it is incorrect.
Right.
And you saw the video?
I saw the video. Caitlin Collins of CNN was questioning. Caitlin Collins is like a real thorn in Trump's side. She's like the CNN.
Yes.
She's like she's always in there, and I see him when they wear the masks. I've seen him actually calling her by accident because of the masks, and she was kind of far away, and then he can't go against her because right now they're trying to like fix his image, and he used to just go, "You're fake news," and move on. You know, literally just go, "You're fake news," and he can't do any of his old tricks because we're in a crisis, so he has to kind of like act like he has these answers. And she really came at him being like, why did you share this thing? And he was like, he had to admit he knew nothing about it. First he was like, I don't know, she seemed to be interesting, and she seems to be, about the woman, which we didn't talk about yet. But my experience watching this was okay, so there's a woman on my feed, my Facebook feed, who's extremely conservative and very Trumpy. I don't know, very Trump supporty. She's a MAGA person, and she shared it as it was I think it was happening live. And like I was watching it, and there was all these they were all wearing these coats. And one thing about it is that they wrote SCOTUS on it, right?
Yes, because it was filmed at outside of the Supreme Court.
That's why I clicked on it. Is because I was like, wow, this is the Supreme Court. Like, I did. But I kind of also had a suspicion because of the person who was quoting it. The person who was posting it, I was like, this is, I was like, this is going to be really interesting. And then it was these doctors, they get up there, and one thing I noticed right away, one thing I look for if you're looking for fake news, because I have a real, I can always see the fake
I
news.
have an eye for
I have
fake
an eye for these things. I have a
news.
tremendous eye for these things. We all have my eye, don't we, folks? And a lot of people are talking about, but no. So this woman was not well spoken at all. Like the woman who was kicked it off is like, I'm a doctor and this, that, and you're like, I can always see, like, you're a little too dumb for what you're trying to push. You know what I mean? Like, you sound a little too much like me to be doing
Right.
this.
It's like the difference between like Dr. Fauci and like one of those
Yeah,
dentists in a toothpaste commercial where they're
right.
talking about like why Sensodyne is important. It's like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
she is a little bit like, and it had like, there's always this tinge of, like, they were doing this thing on CNN where they had like people who voted for Trump who now regret it. Like, these are people who voted for Trump. What are they saying now? Some of them like really regret it. And then there's one woman, Trump 2020 sign in the back, who's like,
Yeah,
you breathe it in the mask, it's bad for you. And it's always the same personality type.
I
These people
know.
you can tell right away. Unfortunately for them, I'm sorry to be an elitist coastal asshole, but I am, I guess, an elitist asshole. But like you, I can tell right away you're not the sharpest tool in the shed. You're a little bit more of an abrasive, like arrogant, loud asshole than you are a sponge for knowledge and truth. You
And
know?
like so set in one's ways, like completely unwilling to look or investigate anything. Like this
Yeah.
is just what it is.
It's not judging someone by their look. It's what they're
It's a
saying,
vibe.
and
It's a
if
vibe.
it's also about like as like an improviser, it's someone whose energy is more important than the actual words.
Right.
Now, this is coming
Right.
from someone who has fallen into that trap. I actively fight against this, where I'm like, I want to be going a speed that I can't maintain with these thoughts. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And so when I see that and I see someone who's like, I'm going to come in hot, I could see that they're like, I'm going to bring this kind of energy to this. And it's more about the energy than actually the words and the message.
Mm-hmm.
One thing, God, this is, well, I have a lot to say, but like one thing is when I was watching Barr today in the, like when they're interrogating him, like, he fucked up a couple of times, but a lot of times, even if somebody's coming at you hostilely, you answer calmly. There's a John Bolton, when he's going on his book tour, is like a fucking master of this, where you're like,
Mm-hmm.
even though you know somebody's leading you, someone's looking for a response out of you, you know they're agreeing with you, they're calling your behavior out, you're like, no, this is professional, here's why I did what I did, I know why you're asking that question. You act like almost you're getting along. It's so
Yeah,
professional.
I mean that's what a lot of these here. If you look at even like court depositions,
Yeah.
people in really precarious situations do maintain their composure. Like watch the Epstein deposition. Like he's doing his all to maintain his composure.
Yeah, and like so, like when Brett Kavanaugh was getting questioned
Oh
with
God.
De Blasey Ford, and he was like, I would, he's like flipping out. I was like, this is a temperament that
Mm-hmm.
is unfortunately is not befitting of someone who should be on the Supreme Court,
Right.
regardless of if he actually did these allegations or not, which is very hard to throw away. I'm not diminishing that. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
saying you should be able to handle this more if you're going to be on the Supreme Court of the
No
United
shit.
States of America for a lifelong term.
Right.
Okay, now we veered. We
Okay.
Rema
So
Veered way off, folks.
So, anyways, this White Court Summit that Dan watched was an event that was organized by a right wing group called the Tea Party Patriots, which is backed by some wealthy Republican donors. So, this was in no way affiliated with the Supreme Court, other than it was filmed outside of it.
Okay.
And the America's Frontline Doctors is a group of, and I'm using air quotes, doctors
Yeah.
who are they support Trump, they share the same beliefs, and it seems now based on his Twitter, Trump is backing them. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about some of these folks.
Let's do
Um,
it. Yeah, because I had so many
there's some
questions
really
about these
interesting
guys.
characters in
There was one
America's
guy who
Frontline
had.
Doctors.
There was one doctor who was a
Hmm.
pediatrician in
Yes,
yeah, which you will talk
that's
about. I don't know his
yeah,
name. I just want to point
that's
out
Bob Hamilton.
Bob Hamilton. This guy he had like the sunglasses that like turn dark in the sun. You know, like
Yeah,
at the
yeah, he had
classes.
the yeah. Mhm.
So like he's up at the podium, but you're like, bro, I can't see your eyes. Like
Those
that's
are
like the
strictly for like nerds and like dads who don't want to switch their glasses out.
yeah.
So, yeah, Bob Hamilton was actually one of the more minor characters in the America's Frontline Doctor video. He's a pediatrician from let's see here, from Santa Monica, California. And I think he is actually known for like a YouTube video where he shows how to like soothe a crying baby by holding them horizontally on one's arm. Like I've seen that video before, but yeah, he's part of this group, but minor character. The woman who kind of emerged as the star of
Yeah.
America's Frontlines Doctors is a woman named Stella Emmanuel. She
Yes.
is a Houston doctor who says she went to medical school in Nigeria. Now, I didn't investigate these people's credentials. They are called doctors, so let's just go with it, but I don't
Well,
really know.
and to be fair, CNN was also. You could see in their faces, like what Anderson Cooper were like today was in like a boot, like he was like,
Yeah.
and you could see in their face they want to be like, this person's a fucking quack, but they don't have actual credentials. Like there's no way to really look into it. We're talking
Right.
about like,
I don't know their board certifications or anything like that. So, in her speech, Emmanuel alleges that she has successfully treated hundreds of patients successfully with hydroxychloroquine. And of course, this has been it's not advised by the FDA. They
right,
revoked their recommendation in June that this should even be recommended. Now, Emmanuel is an interesting character. This was brought up during the press conference today. She has a history of making bizarre claims about medical topics. For example, she believes that gynecological issues such as cervical cysts or endometriosis are caused by women having sex with demons and witches in their dreams. She also believes that,
wow, that's a
yeah,
RGN non-exclusive.
yes.
Yeah,
So Lena Dunham, endometriosis survivor, she must have been having a lot of witch sex in her dreams. She also alleges that alien DNA is being used in medical treatments, and that scientists are cooking up a vaccine that will prevent people from becoming religious. So those are a few of her contributions to the
wow,
medical field.
yeah,
And she also has said that the government is run, and this really is telling, run in part not by humans, but reptilians and other aliens. And we've heard Alex Jones talk about the
right.
reptilians. It's a conspiracy theory. So she's kind of on that level. And so Twitter removed these videos citing misinformation, and she had her she responded on Facebook saying that if her Facebook video is not back up, Facebook will be down in Jesus's name. So that's kind of where this lead doctor that Trump has thrown to is coming
Wow.
from. And she
So
has a lot of interesting theories.
yeah, so I also heard something was like lusting after celebrities. I
Mm-hmm.
heard something. She said something about lusting after celebrities will get you pregnant.
Oh,
With
well,
like
that's another
something about
interesting.
demon sperm.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I missed that. I didn't see the video, so I'm not
Oh
exactly
my
sure.
god, no!
But
Is there something about her with demon sperm? I just googled demon sperm. Stella Emmanuel. Why is everybody talking about demon sex all of a sudden? That's what this article is called.
yeah, well, that's where
Um,
our
well,
feminine issues come from.
Well, Donald Trump Jr. got suspended from Twitter for
Right.
sharing these videos, but
Right.
Trump they just like fact checked his or
They
whatever.
took it down. So she kind of stole the show at this White Coat Summit, but there
Yeah,
are a
I
few
didn't get to her
other
when I watched.
yeah, there are a few other interesting characters. Dr. James Todaro, he is also a air quote doctor who hasn't seen a patient since 2018, according to his bio, and currently earns his bread and butter by promoting Bitcoin. And Dr. Todaro is notable because he is largely credited with creating Trump's obsession with hydrochloroquine because he co-wrote a paper on Google Documents with an attorney which promoted the use of chloroquine back in March. And the paper went viral. Elon Musk retweeted it at some point in March, and then Trump took it and ran with it. So he is on the team of the frontline doctors as well.
Oh my God. It's so funny because some of these articles are America woke to demon sperm trending on Twitter.
Yeah, saw that. And it all kind of added up when I started researching these folks.
Wow, Erin. So this woman, would you say,
Yeah.
is a? So let's put this into perspective for the people here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump is actively fighting against Fauci. We've heard his credentials
Yes.
here. A man who's already going to have to be, if Trump knew his history, is a guy who's going to be up against it, fighting against public opinion about how you treat a disease. And
Right.
just by treating a disease, a brand new novel virus, you're going to make mistakes. People are going to die just by actually academically trying to treat it. So
Right.
we're up against that to begin with. And Trump's fighting against that to be reelected by retweeting this shit,
Yes.
retweeting this woman. So let's put that into perspective for you. Like, I think this stuff is so flagrant, this stuff is so dangerous to our country that if we do not live in a time where if you live in a swing state, oh, that's just what my dad thinks.
Right.
You have to actively speak to members of your family. You know,
Right.
and like any vote that you have access to. We're really fighting for the fabric of basic science right now, like being at the forefront of how we treat deadly disease.
100% agree. And it's like, these are people's lives. It's actually reckless and dangerous to, like you said, just kind of vote the way my dad always voted and to not
Right.
be informed. Like the people, like there's Dr. Fauci, who is a well-credentialed, published scholar, but Trump is promoting the work of people who are conspiracy theorists and believe that alien DNA is being used in testing. Like it's not acceptable.
Oh my God, I'm still googling demon sperm.
Okay, well, you could be there for a while. So just to tell you a little bit about the other folks who are on this
Oh
panel.
yeah.
We have Dr. Simone Gold. She's a doctor and a lawyer from Los Angeles. She's the co-organizer of the Beverly Hills Conservative Club. She's the founder of this group. And Dr. Daniel Erickson, who's an urgent care doctor from Bakersfield, he is a promoter of herd immunity, and he's also a known conspiracy theorist. He somehow blamed George Soros for silencing his ideas on herd immunity. So this basically makes up the group. And I believe the woman that you saw that kicked the video off was Jenny Beth Martin, who is a co-founder of the group that funded this White Coat Summit event. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow. So these are like, would you say there's anybody up there who's credible on the coronavirus, like actively seeing or treating proof they're treating patients effectively?
Absolutely not. None of these people are even in the field of like immunology or disease or anything. We have an urgent care doctor, a doctor/lawyer, a guy who sells Bitcoin, a woman who believes that there's a vaccine against religion, and that's about it. And this whole thing was funded by a group, like by Republican donors and Tea Party members, and it's not facts, you guys.
So I want to. So you've heard all this. This woman. Okay. So a guy on my Facebook group, a guy I've actually spoken to. Again, nice guy. I just want to point out the kind of arguments like that happens when something like this happens. The kind of discourse that happens, where this guy wrote, white leftists were super quick to dig into this woman's past, her religion, mocking her African heritage and culture, anything to discredit her, along with the death threats and racism. She needs a security team fast because the hate for this woman right now is truly scary. Okay, so, look, there's a point there, which is like everybody's jumping down this woman and her heritage, and it's kind of like, I always felt like I was pretty rough. Like growing up, I always thought like Eastern medicine was a complete joke. Like
Right.
growing up in America, you're like, oh, over there they're doing it, and then I know people who've had a tremendous success with some Eastern medicine. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Why
sure.
close your mind off to stuff? I don't know what I was even like thinking. Like, yes, I think
Right.
Western medicine is more where I would lean towards, but why close yourself off to it, right?
Yeah.
So I get. So I'm saying like, yeah, all right. So if she has some beliefs that are my point is it's not really about judging it, but I think like for this guy to ignore, like, fine, okay, there's a point there is a non-tolerance for other countries and their beliefs, and maybe they're not scientifically based, but maybe we should respect them and blah blah blah. There is definitely like some kind of hypocrisy there, but the simple fact is this is what the president of the United States is spewing in a time of crisis and pushing down our immigrant genius, Dr. Fauci, right?
Exactly.
From immigrant roots. He was born in here. But, right?
Right.
So I'm saying, like, ultimately what you're saying is a distraction from the real problem in terms of where our priority should be. So this argument is just, to me, is it's fine, but it's a fucking waste of time and missing the point
Right.
right
It's
now.
irrelevant. Like that, this woman's beliefs, her culture, any of these people's beliefs and their background has nothing to do with the core problem here. The problem is that this is misinformation. It is wrong. It has nothing to do with actually resolving coronavirus and this pandemic that we're going through. And the president is suppressing Dr. Fauci and retweeting this material. And when questioned about it at the press conference this afternoon, couldn't even speak to why he shared it, other than I'm assuming these people are his supporters, and
Right.
he knows
And
where
look,
his bread is buttered.
hopefully these polls are correct because none of this is working for Trump, and I can't see how it would. But like this guy went out to say, he said, all you white leftists attacking Dr. Stella Emmanuel, better hope we don't find out Dr. Fauci is Catholic and believes a virgin was impregnated by universal power. Oh,
His
well,
logic is
would you look
ridiculous.
at that? So his point is like, all right, Catholicism has, and all religions have spiritual and element.
Myths,
But
yeah.
okay, but again, this country in its doctrine has separation of church and state. People are able to separate their faith from science
Yes.
generally, and Dr. Fauci is proven to be a man of science. For what else does a guy have to do? This kind of behavior is fucking stupid. It is a way to make you feel more important, or it's because you're upset about other shit in your life and it makes you cynical or something.
Mm.
But this is missing the point, and right now it's costing us lives. Why would you want to be on the side of this? It's not
I don't
funny. It's not helpful. It's ridiculous.
I have no idea.
It's back. We went here with the masks. It goes for people with this kind of behavior with the masks and discrediting Dr. Fauci. I gave you that he shouldn't be doing this stuff, and I think this guy who posted stuff, you could tell he's a smart guy. Those are not stupid arguments. Those are good. Like, my point is that there is points in there. I see that, but they're not at all pressing, and they're ignoring so much, which is great for joke writing. Joke writing, you set up some kind of a premise, and then you prove it with a punchline. That works awesome. And then people are like, oh, yeah, I'm not looking to logic out the part that you ignored about why people actually do that, because I'm looking to laugh. But right now, this is why, as a comedian, I'm having a hard time being funny, because it's like, this is not funny. This is insane. It's,
Right. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, Erin, I think we said it all today.
Yeah.
I think we
Mm-hmm.
covered, frankly, too much. I think it's a long episode. But look,
Great.
let's for the RGN people out there. A lot of this, some of you might have thought some of this was basic information. I promise you, to some, this is not. Okay. And I think I agree. Getting information, it is confusing. It was don't wear masks. Now there's wear masks. Right now, wear the masks. Okay. Cover it up for the macro vision of it. It helps. It's proven to help. They were wrong before about not wearing them. Now we have more information, and frankly, they will be wrong again about stuff they're saying. But statistically, people who follow precautions that are given do better in the long run. So even if this is not the exact way to do it, your caution translates to you being safer. It's cool. Dr. Fauci, a genius and a national treasure, and we should stop societally telling people that they need to be throwing out pitches and stuff. They should be doing their craft, okay? And this guy is proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. He is an actual genius. It's time for the scholars to be in charge again. So Fauci, anyone's talking shit about Fauci, he doesn't know. You say, I'm sorry. Whoever you are way dumber than Fauci. I'm sorry. Whoever you are, you know less than this guy. You haven't worked half as hard as this guy has worked his whole life at what he's good at. You have not dedicated yourself this way this guy has. This guy is, and what always gives me positivity, the American people and are seeing through the bullshit.
Yeah.
They're seeing through it in the polls, and Fauci's approval rating's good. More people are wearing masks. Even Trump had to go back on the masks. And hydroxychloroquine, no one's taking that shit. So, Erin,
Dan,
I think we did it. I think we had a good
too.
conversation. So remember, everybody,
Yes.
Erin, what? You were going to say something?
Oh, no. I think we did a great job delivering the regular guy news this week.
I think so too. So Erin, tell them, if you have a question for us, you want something else to talk about, you have a question for us, you want something I can dig into, you want me to read 2 articles on your behalf, what are they going to do?
All you have to do is write to us at regularguynews@gmail.com. Send us your questions. We probably don't know the answer, but we'll look into it.
That's right. And also, give us, if you want to respond to something we said on the podcast, you want me to read it, I have to read it. If you give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and in the comments, write a comment, and you could write whatever you want, and I'll read it, and I'll respond to it. So if you think I'm a jerk, including the guy who I quoted here, no, he really was a nice guy. We had a really nice discourse. I just think it's good to talk about this stuff, get our opinions out there. But everybody, thank you. We are a new podcast. I'm working on changing the graphics and stuff. Give me a little bit of time to do that. But this is currently the Dan Black Attack, the RGN Regular Guy News podcast via the Dan Black Attack podcast feed. Tell people about the show if you're liking the show. I'm getting awesome feedback from you guys saying you really are liking it. So we are word of mouth. We don't have some big budget here. So hey, let people know if you dig it, they want to listen and get your questions in. And hey, thanks for tuning in to the Regular Guy News, RGN, the least pretentious name in news. Thank
Signing
you
off.
for tuning in. Signing off.
Stay uninformed.
Stay uninformed. Peace.